That's right, guys. Today we are looking at clothing. And I don't know about you, but for me, I'm a little bit outside of my comfort zone, drawing people with their clothes on. So I got some help from someone called Simon Luty, who we've had on the channel before. Thank you to Simon. He sent through some demos and some notes.
Hi, my name's Kenzo, and this is Love Life Drawing.
I thought that we could start just by talking about a couple of folds, just so we can start to recognize some of the information that we're looking at. The first one is, if you imagine a curtain just hanging down from the curtain rail, that kind of wavy pattern they create, it's kind of like a load of cylinders in the cloth. And those are called pipe folds. And we can see that on some of these models in their clothes, where it's just kind of hanging down freely. The second one is called a diaper fold, or I've seen it called a U fold. And it creates a U shape because it's held up by 2 points. And then the third one is just where, you know, like let's say you have your arm and at the sleeve you fold your arm, the cloth gets kind of pushed together and compressed, and that just bunches up in the cloth into folds, and I've seen those called half lock folds. And I thought that those three would hopefully be enough for us to start to navigate these poses today. So what are we looking at when we're looking at clothing? You know, clothing on the floor would just be a pile. But when you put it on a figure, it gives it form, it fills it out. And the places where you can see the cloth kind of hugging the figure, and you can see the figure underneath the cloth, you can see the curves and shapes of the figure, we're going to call those hug areas. And so that's where the cloth is hugging the figure. And then there are areas where the cloth is just hanging off the figure, or it's bunching up and creating its folds. And to understand those forms and shapes of folds and the way that it hangs, you just want to think about the tension points. So what's pushing and pulling and from where? So if I'm just holding a cloth, then there's a tension point here where I'm holding it. And so when I think about the folds, they're going to kind of come back to those tension points. And on my arm, if we kind of bunch up the fabric by folding my arm here, then there's going to be tension coming this way and this way, and those forces we want to understand so as we draw the folds. So you want to think about where's the point of tension acting on the cloth, and then what are the forces acting on the cloth. It's good to understand that, to think about what's happening. From there, you don't need to copy exactly the complex pattern of folds that you're seeing. As long as you get the nature or the character of the folds right and the tension points right, you're pretty much there. And in fact, I would say you want to simplify down. You don't need to capture every single fold. It's just like when we're drawing the figure, we're always saying don't draw all the details. Well, with the folds, you don't need to draw every single wrinkle and detail of the folds, but you want to get across the character of it. So when it comes time to drawing the figure, you have a few different ways you could go about it. So you're going to draw the figure nude, like we have the model nude, and you can draw that and get used to the figure itself. And then when the clothed version comes on, you could use a different material or something, or maybe you drew the nude figure really lightly, and then now you can start to add the clothing more strongly on top. Or you can start again fresh, and you could just lightly kind of draw very faint lines for how you think the figure appears underneath, the big mass of the rib cage, the big mass of the pelvis, and then start to build your drawing with clothing on top. But it's a really good practice to start to think about how is the figure underneath, and then build your clothing on top of that. You know, the folds are going to create shadow shapes just like we looked at before, and simplifying those shadow shapes just to tell the basic information is going to be really useful. Having said all that, I personally believe that drawing more complicated and adding more detail is easier. And because we're beginners with this, or at least, you know, a lot of us are, we might find it easier to draw more of the detail and be more analytical about it. And then as we get more practice, then we might become better and better able to simplify it and filter it down. So don't beat yourself up if you start adding lots of detail and it all gets a bit heavy and a bit messy, because that is how you learn to draw something new. So this is a big challenge, but really fun and exciting, because this opens up a whole new world, drawing people with their clothes on. So I did this demo and I'm just trying to get into it. I'm just trying to learn what I'm doing. So I still think that I'm overcomplicating and overthinking. I noticed that even though I'm pretty loose and relaxed when doing gestural drawings, because this is now a clothed figure, I tensed up a little bit. I started to think too much. But, that's just how it goes when you're trying something new. When you're doing that, when you're getting into that place of being a little bit tense, you're learning and you're doing something good because you're developing. And then with time, I'm going to become looser with it. I'm going to be able to play around with the different folds. This is part of the learning process, and that's quite an exciting place to be. I just wanted to mention that if you need to build up your observational skills for the figure, understanding the landmarks and the main masses, and being able to map them out with good proportions and angles, using skills like alignment and measurement and things like that, and then building up your eye's ability to do that really quickly so that then you can capture your gestures and things with more confidence. So if you need those foundational observational skills to be built up, then check out our course. We're running it in March. Enrollment will open on March 1st. And it's really going to give you those foundational observational skills that you can use in all kinds of different life drawings. It's a really powerful and effective course. We use quite an unusual approach to the lessons where it's interactive and you draw along with the lesson. I'll put a link below with more information, so check it out. And good luck with your sessions, and I'll see you tomorrow.